Welcome to the Financial Planners Southeast Asia podcast, a show dedicated to driving the positive evolution of financial advice, specifically within Southeast Asia. To join a global community of financial advisors sharing and learning with one another to drive the positive evolution of financial advice, head to xyadvisor.com. Welcome to another episode of the Financial Advisor Southeast Asian podcast. Gwen here, and today we have a financial advice unit manager under Blue Pearl 10 from Pro-Life UK here in the Philippines. Meet Keith Capoy. Keith, thank you so much for coming into the show and welcome.
Hi, Gwen. It's my pleasure to be here. It's actually my first time to guest in the podcast, so it's a mixed emotion, excited, and nervous at the same time.
Well, no worries, because this is just like two colleagues talking to one another. So I'm mostly going to ask you about your story as a financial advisor and as a unit manager. So I'll start off with that. First off, how long have you been in the industry?
All right. So as an agent, as a life insurance professional, I'll be turning 7 years old this August.
Oh.
And as a unit manager, it's actually my third year, this 2021. It's quite a long story. A lot of people will not believe that I'm actually a programmer.
Just like me. Yeah.
I used to work behind the computer. You know, our work, we almost all day, even during our dreams, when we find a solution, we wake up at 3 hours of the day and just to see, is this working or not? So that was my life for about 4 years, working in Korea and going back to the Philippines, joining the family business. And it was a long story. Why I came to life insurance. It was not actually something that I thought I would be in, but I guess I'm here, going 7 years. So there must be a big reason, a mission, I believe, that I am here.
That's wonderful. But so how did you get into from being a programmer? Because that is like behind the desk and, you don't really interact with a lot of people. I remember there's this running joke before when I was also an IT student that we don't need legs, we just need our hands to code. So what happened that you transitioned from being a programmer to becoming like a financial advisor and, talking to people, approaching them, doing sales stuff?
Yeah, as I said a while ago, when I never really wanted to be in sales. In the first place, I don't want to force people to buy something from me. I don't want to get rejected. But just to go back to history, right after I graduated from University of San Carlos, I worked directly with my Korean employer, and he asked me to fly to Korea to work for him. At the same time, I studied for 2 years, master's in business, while working for my Korean boss. So it was a happy-go-lucky life right back there in Korea. But then my dad called me and said, "Son, why not you go home to the Philippines and join the family business?" So we're actually into shipping brokerage. So as an obedient son, I went home to the Philippines. In fact, I was offered a doctorate degree after the master's graduation, but I still followed my dad. So when I went home to the Philippines, life was so comfortable because I joined the family business. Our office is just attached to our house, so I can just wake up any time of the day.
Yes,
and then everything
like any Filipino business.
Yes, and everything was for free. I don't have to wear any uniform. So you see, the income that I get from the family business directly goes to my bank account. Everything else, meals, load, car, gasoline, everything else was for free. Until in 2012, when my dad got diagnosed of cancer. It started with just a simple stomach ache, and it lasted for more than 2 weeks. So we had to bring him to the hospital. And after some scans and checks, we found out that there was a tumor about 1 kilo in size that needed to be removed. ASAP. So it was already at fourth stage cancer. It was
Yeah.
the technical term was just gastrointestinal stromal tumor. So there was no technology or there were no available doctors who could attend to my dad that time. So we had to bring him to Manila, St. Luke's
Yeah.
Medical Hospital, Medical Center. And there, to cut the long story short, the operation was successful. But you know, cancer,
Yes.
it betrays you. So after almost 2 years, it recurred. It actually spread out to other parts of his body. So after almost 2 years, even with all our efforts to find the best doctors, my dad lost a battle to cancer. And that was the turning point because we realized we spent so much. In fact, if I would mention the figure, we spent more than 8 million pesos for his
I
medical
know. I know.
expenses. And everything, not everything, but most of it came from the pocket. My dad only had a very small amount of HMO or health insurance. The rest were covered by our business. And so we had to give up a lot of things. We realized right after that my dad could have been insured and we wouldn't have to spend that much money. So a lot actually were sacrificed, including his retirement fund, the savings of his children, our business fund. And we know that it doesn't stop there. When the breadwinner of the family is out of the picture, how does the family sustain their living? So that's actually a different story because we were left with two younger siblings. One was who just actually graduated from high school and about to take dentistry. So imagine that. And
Yes. Another a big expense.
yes, and the younger brother actually just graduated from his 4 year course and he was about to take proper medicine. So imagine two younger siblings, both in the medical field, and we expect big tuition fees. So without my dad, how are we gonna sustain the kind of living? So we had to sacrifice a lot. We sold our properties. In fact, we sold several condominiums in Cebu, in Manila, cars. The most painful part, I guess, was selling our ancestral house in our hometown. So there were a lot of sacrifices to be made because my dad apparently, after learning all these years, failed to prepare for that incident, for that event. So that is what I always advocate when talking to my prospects, to my clients, that preparation is really key. No one really would know when that would happen. No one is an exemption for it. I believe I've talked too much.
No, that's okay. That's okay because I actually, you know what, this is the thing that I really wanted to capture here in this podcast as well, Keith, because your story is very powerful. So most of us in the most of the financial advisors that I've talked to here in this podcast, and it's not aired yet. Most of the podcasts are upcoming, but most of them, and especially like the first episode, my first episode was actually my husband. Um, and he also lost both of his parents to cancer on the same year, and they were all college students. So we have like this similar thing that we only realize these things when it has happened to us, and we really want to be able to advocate that because we don't want the things that happen to us happen to other people as well, because it's very difficult, and as you said, you had to sacrifice a lot of things, um, and that I think is one of the reasons why it's very difficult for us, yeah, like for middle class Filipinos to rise above that 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 line, because we are not prepared. There are yeah, like resources that we could have gotten, but because we're just not thinking about the future, like long future, and that what we fail to prepare, and if God forbid that happens to other people, the cycle goes on, and yes, that's why I really wanted to capture that, because if other people are able to listen to this podcast, to your story, they'll be able to think and maybe look back on what they could do or what they could have done, if it's they're not going to do it for themselves, then why not do it for their families, right? So your story is very powerful, and I know it's one of the things that has fueled your passion for the mission, because you've been in the industry for a long time, and jumping from being a programmer, not talking to anyone, to really, because I know the like I know your journey, because I was also a programmer, and jumping into sales, like, and what you mentioned, like, you're really like, you dislike, and I know this feeling, the dislike to push a product or like even your ideas to other people, um and hopes that they would like take your idea, because it's going to help them, um and it's actually very frustrating, especially when you're new. And I guess that's like one of the things that I wanted to ask. So because of your story, I know that has fueled you to start your career as a financial advisor. But throughout the rejections and the hurdles that you go through, what made you stay?
I believe I found the love for this business. In fact, when I joined, I never really thought it would last this long. My very simple reason for joining that time was just to make sure that I get to apply for life insurance for my family members, for my mom and my
Yes.
siblings. I get it discounted. Because when you
I
become
know, right?
improvement, the commissions go back to you. That was just my very simple reason. But you know what? After attending all the trainings and listening to different agents and hearing their inspiring stories, I realized that I'm into something much bigger than what I thought initially would be. So what I thought to be just another source of income to be able to help my family. That time I was no longer confident being a programmer because my life was so comfortable working with my dad,
Yes.
family business. So I needed to find something to replace that programmer job or that job that I have been with my family. I work as an accounting manager in the family, although that is just a title. I don't really work that much.
Yes.
Living a comfortable life with the family was so hard to transition to finally do something that I would really work hard. And coming into the life insurance industry, I realized that I have to approach people, and this is something that I am not comfortable doing. You mentioned a while ago about our work as IT. We work behind the computer most of the time. We don't really talk
Yeah.
too much, right? And I felt when I joined the life insurance industry, although it's not being said verbally, but I feel that my classmates, batchmates were kind of asking, why is Keith suddenly becoming an agent? Not to brag, but I'm one of those students in the past topping the list in the academics. So they're expecting much more than that. They're expecting me to rise above the ranks in the IT companies, maybe become CEO someday. But hey, Keith, becoming a life insurance agent, why suddenly? But I had to trust my gut. I believe there's a reason for everything why I came into this business. And over the years, I realized that it's really much bigger than me. It's really helping people. And the reason why I stayed, with your question, I love being here. I love helping people. I love hearing their stories. I love sharing my story as well. We learn from each other. And right now, being a unit manager, I'm leading a young team and I help them to be able to help more people. So my reach is becoming bigger because I don't do it just by myself. I now have a team of passionate young people who are also willing to help other people become successful. So
Right.
you actually multiply yourself. That's a good thing.
Yes.
You become the
Yes.
leader.
Yeah. So I think that's like, I also attended a leadership seminar, and it's like being being a leader will enable you to replicate your success to other people as well, so that you because it's like a ripple effect, where you don't only get to change the life of the people around you, but those members or your team members that you've also that you're leading will also be able to replicate throughout the people that's around them. So you get to touch more lives in the process. Now, talking about your team, like how many financial advisors are you currently managing?
Right now, counting the rest that are still about to be licensed, I would say an average around 50.
Oh, wow,
50,
that's a big team.
80% are millennials and 20% are Gen Zs. So you see younger people are really joining the business
Mm.
because I can see a pattern that people would like to do something or a job where they find meaning, and they definitely could find purpose here in the life insurance industry.
Yes, that is true. So that's a really big um, team that you're handling. And yes, you're right. I've noticed that, especially on the younger generations, we've deviated from, working like our parents, like just working to get food on the table, to working for a purpose. As the generations gets younger, we realize that like a lot of financial advisors now are in their early 20s, right? Whereas for us, or at least for me, I started in my late 20s, and um, I've now heard that there are financial advisors who started when they were 19. So that was that's
I
really
have
interesting
18.
too.
I have an
Yes.
18-year-old
Oh,
advisor
yeah, and that's
and
so
still a
young. So
student.
like, I know, and it's like, oh my God, what was I thinking when I was 18? I was just thinking about like what to do after class. So, and I'm very proud of those like 18-year-olds who have such a high vision, like, or such a far reaching vision that they can envision themselves helping others. When I was 18, I was very selfish, like
Playing
what I
computer
mentioned, just
games, Dota
yes,
during our
like
time.
computer games, and or yes, yeah, Dota, yes, that was like the game for like my generation, our generation.
Our
But
generation.
yes, so I really like it's there, you can really see a trend that's been going on. And like I wonder, have you or like did you notice a surge of these like new financial advisors, young financial advisors coming in during the pandemic or even before that?
I think even before that, but just one to trace it back when I joined in 2014, I noticed that I was the youngest. I joined at 25 years old. Most of my
Mm.
peers are on their 30s, 40s, 50s. So I thought to myself that the life insurance business must be for age. How should I term it? But not
Middle
so
aged.
middle-aged people. But as they say, young ones attract other young ones. So I was able to invite other young people, my classmates from college, from high school, and then it just multiplied. And I realized, I mean, I was amazed after so many years. Wow, our district, not just our brand, not just our unit, not just the branch, but the whole district is now recruiting more millennials. And I think it's really the law of attraction. Young people would be attracted to also young people. So it started around, I think, in my third or fourth year. So even before the pandemic, that more young people are actually joining.
Oh, that's really good to hear. And yes, because that would mean that we get to help a lot more people as the generations gets younger. But I'm also curious, like during the pandemic, have you noticed any attrition from financial advisors as well, since you're managing teams now?
Yes, in fact, I had a lot of agents who got delisted last year because they were inactive. I believe after the pandemic, I know you could also relate, all of us can relate, that after March, when it was announced that we would go on a lockdown, people kind of didn't know what to do. If the business would still go on, we were waiting for memo from head office on what are we gonna do, how can we sell, because we used to do face to face. But I'm just thankful that the life insurance industry is fast enough to adapt to changes. And so non face to face came in. But I noticed that a lot of my agents were actually diverting to other kinds of business, like selling food and whatever items available. As you can see, the marketplace is booming
Yes.
in Facebook.
Yes.
Yes. So I don't know. I just lost a good number of agents last year, but it was also an opportunity to invite more, to recruit younger ones. These people actually, the new recruits from last year, were the ones performing. And to my amazement, they are the ones who actually brought our team to a positive growth despite the pandemic.
That's really cool. And yes, because I asked this question because, as I mentioned, I think I mentioned this before we started the recording, that there was a mixed feedback between financial advisors, at least here in the Philippines. Some of them were struggling, but some of them were actually like saying like, my business tripled or it quadrupled during the pandemic, which was something that they never really expected, because they thought that people would not really jump into the whole like Zoom meeting bandwagon, but it turned out to be positive for their businesses. And I think because you mentioned that most of the advisors that you have, the younger ones are the ones performing. I guess that's also correlates to because they're really fast to adapt to the technology.
Yes, that's actually a big
That
factor. Young ones are able to adapt to technology faster than the not much younger ones.
Yes, and because even my husband said that although his business did grow during the pandemic, he's still looking forward to like those one-on-one client meetings because he's just that person who really likes to have that face-to-face conversation. And I feel like because most of the financial advisors who's been in the industry for a long time is really used to that kind of meetings that it's very hard to let go. But I'm very happy that there are new advisors coming in who is willing to, and I think now it's the norm, right? Zoom meetings are the norms. Like this, the the one that we're doing right here, and I think like even the podcasts are growing during the pandemic, and so that's very interesting that a certain like global event can do a really really big impact, for better or for worse. While we're talking about this, by the way, about you know talking to clients, are you still doing financial advice and acquiring clients while you're managing teams?
Yes, I still do. For 7 years already, I'm still consistently, how do you call this? Consistently qualifying to the National Achievers Club. So that's actually our, what we say, the gold standard for financial advisors to actually achieve in True Life UK. So I'm happy that even or despite being a manager, I'm still able to sell. But this is really smart prospecting. I don't hustle as much as when I was a rookie or on my first to third year, where I really look for clients every single day. Right now, I just talk to my existing clients, ask for referrals, and I'm also amazed that maybe because of my social media presence, some people just message me and
Mm.
ask Keith, how can I start my plan? Or Keith, how can I join you? So I'm happy that I'm actually creating an impact in social media. So it's becoming easier over time to actually get more clients.
Yes, I do notice that most of the financial advisors that I've talked to said that after a number of years in the industry, they now don't really need to advertise their services as much because they mostly get their clients through referrals. And it's very interesting that. And I know that it's because your previous clients has you've already gained their trust, you have a really good relationship with them, and so it's easier for them to um, like trust you with their referrals. But in your opinion, like how do you think you're able to do the work where you were able to reap the rewards in the future? Like, what were your best practices that you think that has warranted you all of these referrals?
I believe it really all boils down to quality service, keeping in touch with your clients, even as simple as greeting them on Mother's Day, Father's Day, Christmas, birthdays, important events. These are important touch points. You don't actually have to meet them every time, like on a scheduled basis, like once a year. There are actually so many ways to keep in touch with your clients, and them knowing that you are in touch, that you care, especially during the pandemic last year. Just a simple "How are you? I hope you're safe and healthy" would mean a lot to them. Would bring a message that, oh hey, my financial advisor is not only closing a sale for me, he was not just up for the commission, he really cares. So from time to time, like just randomly sending some gifts, maybe food panda, deliveries, it would make them really happy. In fact, last year I closed one of my biggest client. I just sent a basket of fruits, and it made him so happy before the closing. I think that basket of fruit, which actually cost less than 500 pesos, was actually very crucial to closing that sale. So, there it's really all about relationships. When you build that the trust, the confidence, and the right relationship with your clients, they would be so willing to refer you to their friends, their relatives, and so they become your future clients.
Oh, that's good, and I'm sure that you've already provided or given this advice to your team as well, and they're doing that too. But I'm wondering, do you have a certain criteria for the team members that you brought into your team? Like, do you have an ideal financial advisor that you want to like train and mentor?
So far, I'm not very choosy, but I get to attract really young people. I believe the oldest in the team is still around the millennial age, 35 or 37. The youngest is 19, so I have no problem with age.
Mm.
What I really want from someone who would join the team is commitment with time and a fast internet connection,
Ah,
especially
yes,
during this time that
especially
we're doing,
now.
yes, non face to face. Plus, we have a lot of trainings online, and everything is done over Zoom. Zoom demands a lot of bandwidth, so I really require a strong internet connection. Otherwise, there's no point joining when you cannot even join the trainings. So internet is very important. Aside from that, commitment to time, attendance to trainings, strong internet connection, attitude. I believe you will feel it during the interview that this person is teachable enough. Is this
Yes.
person willing to learn? Is this person willing to unlearn things and learn new things? I believe it's the end of the day. There is no perfect criteria to bring in to qualify if this recruit is the right one. You will just really know during the process. When he becomes an advisor himself, he gets licensed and he goes through all the things, does prospecting and approaches people and does presentation. You will know right then and there, oh, this agent will really last in this business. But of course, as a
Yes.
manager, our job is to develop people. So if there are some weak ones, we have to make them stronger. If there are already strong ones, we develop them to even become stronger.
I really find it interesting that you mentioned the word teachable, and I think that's very important because financial advice is relatively like a new in a type of industry here in the Philippines, although it's been around for a long time, but it's just now in our generation, I think, that it's been shed a lot more light. And it entails you to be able to, as you mentioned, unlearn and learn new things, because we also had a lot of taboos around financial advice before, right? Around like the insurance industry, investments, and all that stuff. And yes, I believe that being teachable is one of those prerequisites to, I guess, to this industry. And having been said that, so you have a team and you have 50 people that you're leading. Like, is it difficult to like manage all like 50 people? Because I know like you have to like, I would like, let's say these 50 people are all teachable, but they still have different um, personalities, different learning styles. So how do you go about like managing all of them?
When it's really challenging managing different personalities, especially during my first year. I'm the type who I'm a performer, I'm an achiever, so I wanted my agents to be the same. But you have to accept the fact that there are agents who are not like you, who are a weak personality or maybe just lazy. So that's actually my pet peeve
Unmotivated.
when you know that they need the money, when you know that they need to do or work hard in this business, but they're not doing anything. But you know what? I learned to be patient and to be more understanding. It's not just about requiring them to, hey, you get a sale every month, you be consistent, you be active. It's really becoming more of a person, being a human. I'm not here just as a leader or as a manager. I'm here as your friend. So I get to that level of understanding them on a deeper sense, becoming a friend, because when you have that good relationship with them, you can actually influence them to make a
Mhm.
sale.
Yes.
So yeah, I gotta break that crust because people kind of put a wall. They don't want to be bossed around, right? Especially these millennials. They want a leader who could actually be a good friend with them, someone that they could have fun with, someone that they could confide with. So I'm actually learning a lot, and it's my third year, and I know I still have a lot to learn. And I'm just thankful when you said, is it difficult to manage? Yes, I would say very challenging, but I got help from my fellow managers. So our branch, we have 5 unit managers, and we help
Mm,
each other with the trainings. So
mm,
I don't just we share the burdens. So every
mm.
time there are new rookies, we actually put them in a program good for 1 month where they learn all the basics. So we take turns in training. And that's a good thing about it. There's collaboration, so it's no longer that difficult when I started.
Oh, that's really good because, you know, you mentioned that you have other unit managers, and you guys have each have your own strengths, and it's really nice that you spread out like the load of training these new people, because you might be good at this particular topic, or um, but there's also another type of person who is really who really excels in something else, that and that something else might be very good to share with your new financial advisors, and therefore you get to train a really like robust financial group of financial advisors who can, you know, and again, what we mentioned earlier, replicate what you do, and provide more impact to other people. So I really love that idea that you get to collaborate, and there's no competition with other unit managers, and instead you collaborate with each other so that you get to help
Yes.
the ones that are coming in. And because of that, like, aside from financial advice, obviously, does your team or your branch offer an ongoing service package for your clients?
Actually, we just did last month a Millennial Money Talk. It's a branch-wide event, so it's a financial wellness forum specifically for millennials. So
Mm.
we actually send invites via our Facebook page, April 10, and people get to register via Eventbrite. So it's actually a fun activity, especially for people who don't know what to do with their money, especially the young ones. They like to spend their money on gadgets and
Ah,
so on.
yes.
So what we
YOLO.
teach, yes, YOLO, what we teach in that seminar, in that forum, is for them to, there's actually a checklist in their journey to becoming financially successful. So I believe that counts for the package you are talking about.
Yes, and that's why I ask about this is because it's one of those things that I think really helps a business grow. If we are able to give more, or at least give back more than we receive, because in the end it circles back to you. So, and I'm happy that you were able to share that to us, because it's a really good idea to target millennials, because they're the ones who are actually carrying our economy here in the Philippines. Like, as you mentioned, they're the ones who's spending a lot, and
Yes.
most of them are also working in really good jobs now because they are choosy. so, so they're more choosy. Like, I really remember this. I also, like, I worked for BPO, and now, like, my cousin who's in the younger generation is also looking for jobs, and she's very picky on the jobs. Like, she has a lot of these qualifications, and I remember myself looking for the like a list of the BPOs that are out there, and just hoping that one of them might take me. And here's like this younger generation, like, looking and picking out the ones that she likes. So there's like this a really shift in mindset.
They
And
demand
I
for a really good salary.
Yes, yes, they're that generation. So, but but it's really important as well that we educate them, because we already know, we've done the work. We've done our research. We're already financial advisors. Like, um, some financial advisors even became financial advisors just because they want to learn more about money, right? And what better
Yes.
way to give back than to teach the younger generation and make them more accountable, and make them more educated with their money, so that they can become better spenders, be more, I should say, yes, become better spenders, wiser with their money. But, and so that's really like a good example on programs that your team or your branch has raised for the community. But aside of by the way, aside from leading financial advisors, like, do you have any types of services that you yourself offer?
Hmm. Other than life insurance, I don't. I'm actually a full
Also,
time.
you're really focused.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
really
you're
focused
laser
on.
focused.
Like right now, I'm busy with recruiting more people. When you said 50 is a lot, in fact, in true life, that's really small.
Small.
50
Oh.
people. If you look at the top teams in our company, they would have 200 people in their team.
Oh.
So 50 is
How?
really, it's really just average. So I have
But
to,
you're still starting out, so
yes.
you still have.
So we have to keep up. We have to keep up
Mm.
with that standard, especially done in Manila. They're so fast at recruiting. A lot of millennials are now joining. Of course, with more recruits means to say we have a lot more reach. We'll be able to help a lot more people. So I believe that was the secret formula of True last year, being the only company to get a positive growth despite the pandemic.
Mm.
Is
Yes,
that
yes.
because we continued to recruit young people? So we have more soldiers to reach out to potential clients.
Yes, because and I understand this, that recruiting new financial advisors are important, because there are some who, if we're going with the soldier analogy, some soldiers get tired, and
Yes.
so you will need new ones to, like, carry on the mission, while maybe other soldiers recuperate, or some,
Yes.
change trade. But at least there are still new ones who can carry on with the mission. And from these soldiers, you can have like the best of the best, right? Like there are really financial advisors out there who's um like as you mentioned, like you're the type of financial advisor who's really like competitive within yourself, like you want to be at the top. But there are some financial advisors who are not. Maybe they're just happy with having like one client or two clients a month. So it really depends on the strengths of your soldier. So right now you're laser focused on like recruiting more and getting your message out there through your financial advisors. Now, I guess aside from, leading teams and recruiting more, like what are your plans in the future, by the way?
My plans is really to make my teammates successful. As I said in my vision, I always share it during our meetings, is we want to be a globally recognized financial a team of globally recognized financial advisors. What I mean to say is we want to be MDRTs
Ah, yes,
and the million dollar on table. I'm sure you know
yes,
about that.
yes.
It's what I really aspire for my teammates. So I don't want them to just, how do you call this, be satisfied or content with, okay, I'm a National Achievers Club, you can still go higher. And I believe
Mm-mm.
MDRT is really the gold standard that everyone in the insurance or the finance industry must aim for. I would want to bring them to the US or to other countries and join that MDRT annual meeting. So that's my goal, to really level up the caliber or the quality or the performance of my agents, so that someday they would also do that to their recruits, to their respective teams. The goal of every leader is to make their teammates more successful than them.
Mm.
So I still have a long way to go. It's still my third year and it's getting more exciting, getting to work with more diverse personalities. People, in fact, I have met last year some really interesting people who have more passion than me, in fact. So it
Ah,
inspires me to do more. So that's actually the good thing about recruiting, because when there is a new blood and they are so pumped up, they're so passionate, they actually infect the older agents to actually step up. So I'm looking forward to really meet more passionate people, people who are dreamers, people who are driven, so that we can develop that, how do you call this dynamic team of young professionals. So that's my goal. It's a long way to go, but let's just take it one step at a time.
yes, definitely. And I'm really happy and I support you 100% on your journey and your goals, because we do need a lot of people to educate other Filipinos on the value of financial advice. And at the same time, people say that you become a financial advisor because the commission is good, but really, if we can earn, why not? Like, people think of it differently because we are here in the industry to help other people, and we just want other people to realize that sure, there's a big commission that we get. Actually, it's not that big sometimes. So
Depends on the
it's
product.
a reasonable, yes, commission that we get from say a sale or from a client. But in truth, what we really want to send a message to is that our commission is not would not compare to the money that you get to save um,
Yes.
with the product that that we were able to provide for you, right? So it's good that, like, if we can get more people to tell that message, or to yes, to tell that message to other people, then I really like, one of the goals I feel like as a financial advisors is to raise the economy and the level of the lifestyle that we feel as Filipinos should be getting, right, like by now. And I think that the proper investments and the right insurance is really going to help us with that. But yeah, so thank you so much for being here. And oh, one more question before we end the show, Keith, is that what would you offer as your advice for individuals that are looking to become unit managers? So like for your team members who want to step up and become unit managers.
I believe I was asked this question so many times because the fear of every agent wanting to become or planning to become a unit manager is,
Mhm.
will I be able to make it? Am I
Mm,
really up to becoming manager? Like a lot of people would not want to sacrifice their time because being an
yes.
agent is, you see, being so comfortable. I remember being an agent, there were so many days where I don't work and then I hustle again because you see, when you close the right amount of sales, you know, okay, I'm reaching this income, I'm going to rest, I'm going to work again. So there's not much consistency. But when you become a unit manager, you really have to extend your time because there are agents who call you in the middle of the night asking for assistance. You have to
Yes.
be there for them. So my question for you who are planning to become unit managers, are you willing to sacrifice your time? Because you're gonna have to, especially when you're starting. But later on, I promise you that you're gonna find that groove. You're gonna find the system where everything will be in place. You're gonna find sub leaders in your team who will help you. It's not, the load will not be shouldered or carried on just by yourself. You have a team of people who will help you. So always remember you're not alone. And I believe the core of being a leader is really, do you have a heart to serve? Are you willing to be a servant leader? You're not just there to boss around, but you're there to help them. Focus on helping your teammates and you will be successful. That will just be an effect if you help your team become successful.
All right. Thanks so much. So that's very well said. And thank you so much for coming into the show, Keith. I have learned a lot from your experience and from your knowledge as a unit manager. And I hope that our listeners will has learned a lot from you as well. But if ever we have listeners who wants to reach you or want to know more about you, how can they like contact you or where can they get to know you better?
All right. So, Gwen, thank you so much for this opportunity. As I said, it's my first podcast and I'm
Oh, you
feeling
did so
good.
well.
I'm feeling good after our interview. So they can reach me through Facebook. Just search for Keith Capoy. And should I give my number? Or you can email me at keithcapoy@gmail.com. So it's Kilo Echo Indigo Tango Hotel Charlie Alpha Papa Oscar Yankee at gmail.com.
All right. Thank you so much, Keith. So I also put all of those information in the show notes to this podcast so you can, the listeners can check it out anytime. So thank you so much again for coming into the show and you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Gwen. God bless you.